2025 was a year of exceptional volatility for the global coffee market, shaped by tight supply, soaring prices, trade disruptions, and shifting weather across key producing regions. Today, we're looking back at that turbulent year and turning our focus to what lies ahead in 2026. To help us break it all down, I'm joined by Fernando Maximiliano, risk management consultant at StoneX and the author of the upcoming StoneX Market Intelligence Quarterly Coffee Report. Fernando, welcome and great to have you back.
Hi, Johanna. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Let's start with a quick look back at 2025. Coffee prices were extremely volatile, strong gains early in the year, and then a very different story by the end. What were the key forces driving that volatility along the way?
Yeah, well, we had a very volatile year in 2025, and in the first quarter of the year, we saw prices rising because of lower supply. In the previous year, in 2024, Brazil had exported a lot of coffee to the world. We also had lower production from Vietnam, Indonesia. So we had many problems in terms of supply, and that's something we have been facing since 2020. So because of those short supply, we saw prices rising to the historical highs in the first quarter. But in the second quarter, we saw prices falling as Brazil harvesting came in, which increased the supply worldwide, and that was very bearish to the price movements.
Mm-hmm.
However, in the third quarter, we saw prices rising up again, and that was mostly due to the tariffs imposed by the United States
Mm-hmm.
on coffee imports from Brazil. And then finally, in the last quarter, we saw prices falling again, and that was related to a better expectation in terms of production in Brazil. We'll talk about that. And also the harvest in Vietnam, we had a delay because of excess rainfall, but the weather wasn't able to impact the volume. The impact in terms of volume was limited, and in the end, we saw the rainfall easing and the harvesting in Vietnam speeding up. So those were the main drivers we saw throughout 2025.
Okay, there was also a big split in Brazil between arabica and robusta production. How important was that for global coffee prices?
Yeah, we saw a very small Arabica production in Brazil. That was because of the weather problems we faced in the previous year. So we saw a very sharp decrease in the Arabica production. On the other hand, we saw a very sharp increase in the Robusta production. So with the higher availability of coffee from Brazil and also from Asian countries, as we mentioned, we saw a better supply in terms of Robusta coffee while Arabica was suffering a little bit more because of this production problem we had in Brazil. So those things impacted the world in terms of usage of the coffee worldwide.
Yeah, and I think it's also fair to say that inflation played a major role in demand destruction. How big of an impact did it have across key consumer markets?
Yeah, inflation was a very important thing. We saw inflation rising up to 80% in Brazil by the highest level we saw in May. We saw inflation rising up in the United States, in Europe. So we saw consistent data. For example, according to the Brazilian Industry Association, we saw consumption falling more than 5%. Actually, retail sales falling more than 5% in the first 8 months of the year. We saw consistent data coming from Japan as well, showing slowing consumption. So and as the StoneX, we estimate the global consumption to decrease to fall 3% throughout 2025, and that was the impact of inflation. But in the second half of the year, we saw inflation falling. So it is still there, but it is not as bad as we saw in the first quarter. So we expect the consumption to start to recover as we saw this inflation falling.
Now, it seems like the market is already reacting to expectations for Brazil's 2026-27 crop. What assumptions are really driving those forecasts?
Well, if we start thinking about the second half of last year, we have to look at the flour in Brazil. So we had some localized weather issues, but overall we saw a good development for the Brazilian crop, which created a good expectation in terms of the production for 2026-27. We had our own estimates showing a possible increase. Of course, we have to we our team is visiting coffee areas at this moment right now, but
Mhm.
we saw already a good expectation. Also, something that was that is leading the coffee trend is, as I mentioned, the better supply on the robusta side, coming from Asia, and we saw also market reacting to the weather concerns throughout those periods. So those were the main drivers we saw affecting the coffee market in the past months.
Okay, and one last thing, like you said earlier, in your report, StoneX expects production to rise, but will it be enough to rebuild stocks? And more broadly, what risks could push the market back to the upside?
Well, so what we did a crop survey right after the flowering in Brazil. And as I mentioned, our team is in the field right now to update that number. But we estimated the Brazilian production to increase by 13.5% to 70.7 million bags. That is 29% increase in the arabica production, so going from 36.5 to 47.2 million bags.
Wow.
Robusta production is decreasing a little bit, but we saw overall a larger supply. So for the next crop season, 2026, we expect a more comfortable situation in terms of supply and demand. We were under deficit from 2021 through 2024. In 2025, we were in a level condition, so basically equilibrium in terms of supply and demand. And in 2026, we expect that we will see the first surplus, a good surplus in 5 years. So yes, we expect a better condition in terms of supply in the 26-27 crop season.
Understood. Fernando, thank you so much for joining us and all that wonderful insight. And thank you to our viewers for watching. For deeper insights and analysis, you can scan the QR code or click the link in the description to download StoneX's Market Intelligence Quarterly Report.